how do you even begin to understand a nation as vast and complex as Nigeria? Well, that's what we're going to try and do today. We're going to look at just 24 hours of news to see what a single day can tell us about a nation in motion. All right, so this is the big question that's going to guide us through this whole explainer. We're literally taking a snapshot in time, September 8th, 2025, to see what story emerges from the headlines. Think of it as a journey through the challenges, the ambitions, and all the conversations shaping the country right this second. Okay, first up, and it's a big one, security. You just have to glance at the headlines from this one day to see that this is a nation really on edge. So just look at this. These 4 headlines alone, they paint a really clear, if pretty tough picture of the security landscape. You've got a horrific Boko Haram attack in the Northeast, which the UN condemned. Then, over in Edo State, a bandit raid that just shows how real the insecurity is in rural areas. But at the same time, you see the state fighting back. The army's running operations across the country, and the police are cracking down on the drug trade. So you've got this picture of crisis and response happening all at the same time. And of course, things like this don't just happen in a vacuum, right? The violence is sparking these really urgent calls for action from major public figures like Peter Obi. It's what pushes this security crisis right to the top of the national conversation. All right, so moving on from those immediate physical threats, the news on this day also shows some really deep economic pressures. You can really see Nigeria trying to walk this incredibly high-stakes tightrope.
Wow, just look at this number. 3.5 trillion naira. A report from this day says that's how much food Nigeria loses every single year after the harvest. And you know, that's not just some abstract number on a page. We're talking about a massive economic hole that the government is actively trying to figure out how to fill.
Okay, and here's another huge economic pressure point, a potential strike from the Petroleum Workers Union. I mean, a strike like that could literally paralyze the country. And check out step 3. You see how the government can't just sit on the sidelines? It has to jump right into the middle of it and act as a mediator to, pull things back from the brink. And this right here, this is what I mean by that economic balancing act. It's like a tale of 2 economies happening on the very same day. On one hand, you've got the government in crisis mode, trying to stop a crippling strike. And on the other, it's making these really ambitious long-term plans, hosting a huge continental trade fair and working to boost trade across southern Africa. It's this constant juggle, right? Putting out today's fires while trying to build the foundations for a better tomorrow. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. Now we're going to dive into power, politics, and the people. That really intricate dance between the government and the citizens it's supposed to serve. And here's something that's really simple but super important to remember. The decisions made in those halls of power, they don't just stay there. They have real-world consequences for everyday people. And boom, here's exactly what that ripple effect looks like, side by side. On the left, you have a major allegation. A senator supposedly redirecting 4 billion naira for projects. And on the right, you see the raw human impact. People in Lagos losing their homes, demanding compensation, and a tragic building collapse in Jigawa. But, and this is so important, the story doesn't stop there. The news from this day also shows that people aren't just passive victims. We're seeing a clear pattern of citizens and groups pushing back, using the tools they have, like the court system, to demand some accountability. I mean, look at this lawsuit. It's a perfect example. This group, SARAP, is literally suing the government to try and stop a pay raise for politicians. And their argument is pretty straightforward. At a time when so many people are struggling, giving officials a big raise just isn't in the public's best interest. This is citizen action, plain and simple, using the legal system to challenge the government head on. All right, for our last section, let's move away from politics and the economy for a minute and try to get a feel for the nation's cultural pulse. The vibrant, sometimes messy, but always fascinating conversations happening all over the country. And first up, you've got this really fascinating money war happening in Nollywood, the country's filmmaking powerhouse. On one side, you have the classic YouTube model, where you make money from ads by getting millions and millions of views. But then, on the other side, you have these huge streaming giants like Netflix and Amazon coming in and offering massive upfront payments for content. It's a whole creative industry right in the middle of a huge business transformation. And it's not just about movies and money. I mean, just look at the sheer range of conversations happening all at once. You've got a book launch celebrating creativity, a writer directly taking on sensitive ethnic stereotypes, an actress sparking a debate about gender roles and motherhood, and a festival in the capital aimed at mentoring young people.
What you're seeing here isn't just a list of random events. It's a snapshot of a society actively talking to itself, debating its identity, its values, right out in the open.
Okay, so after all that, let's pull it all back together. What does this single 24-hour snapshot of Nigeria really tell us?
The biggest takeaway for me? It's a nation of incredible, powerful contrasts. For every urgent security crisis, there's a determined military response. For every threat of economic shutdown, there's an ambitious plan for future growth. For every controversial political move, there's a legal challenge from the people. It's this constant push and pull, a nation that is always, always in motion.
And really, that leaves us with one final big question. You see all this tension in one day. Crisis and creativity, conflict and collaboration, all happening at once. So you have to ask yourself, is this a nation on the brink of collapse? Or is it one in the messy, complicated, vibrant process of being reborn? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us.